Afternoon to both of you, and thank you for joining us. CNP, any opening remarks that you'd like to make?
Yeah, thanks, Dave. First of all, let me just say I'd much rather be in the fleet than in Washington, D.C. delivering this. But let me just say thanks to all our sailors, wherever you are, for taking the time to join us. Fleet and I are here to answer your questions. We're here to get your feedback. And I will just tell you that as we look at sailors around the world, both afloat and ashore participating, we cannot say thank you enough. We can't say thanks for your service and sacrifice enough, nor that of your families. So please tell them that. And we know that what you're doing was hard before COVID. We know that after COVID, it's been even harder. We've been working pretty hard here too, though, to make things better and easier for you and for your families, transforming the way that we deliver HR to you and to your families, bringing our talent management system into the 21st century, and doing all of this because you are in the greatest Navy in the world. You are the greatest sailors in the world, and we are amidst great power competition. So we're excited. Fleet knows I could talk all day long in an intro, but that's not what you want. What you want to hear is answers to your questions. So Fleet, if it sounds good to you, we'll get right at it.
Yes, sir. We're ready to go.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Okay. So over the past month, sailors have recorded their questions on video and sent them to us. We've also received hundreds via email. And as we speak, more and more questions are coming in through Facebook Messenger. Now, we have roughly an hour and a half, Admiral and Fleet, to get to as many questions as possible. So let's get right to it. And CNP, the first question is to you. And this question deals with one of many of the impacts that we've experienced from COVID on the fleet. And so let's just roll the tape.
Hello, I'm OS3 Kugel stationed aboard USS Jonathan McCain. My question is, can married service members that are aboard bubbled ships receive family separation pay while in port? Thank you very much.
Okay, so CNP, question to you.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. And Petty Officer Kugel, thank you for that great question. The short answer, I'm sorry to say, is no. There's a federal law that prohibits us from doing that. Now, having said that, based upon listening to sailors just like you, we knew that that was a dissatisfier, a pain point, because we're bringing you on ships, into boats, or wherever, into these protected bubbles so that we can get them cleansed before you get out to sea. And we're doing it sometimes 14 days, sometimes 21 days. And that's time that you're already away from your family. So the Navy spearheaded a legislative proposal to change that law that I mentioned, to go ahead and say, hey, we think that the clock should start to start family separation allowance. So it's 30 days after you start normally a deployment. But what we said was after you go aboard that ship away from your family, because you're not going to see them again, right, to go ahead and get the clock started. We're hopeful that we'll have it in the National Defense Authorization Act this year. Congress is still working on that, but we've been working that hard. If we don't get it this year, then we will continue to try and get that. But look, what we've made very clear, and Congress knows, as do the American people, our operation tempo has not declined. You haven't missed a beat. And again, somewhere around 100 ships on any given day underway amidst COVID. It's been amazing. And I always like to go back to what works, right? So low tech, mask. Fleet and I wore them over here. We mask up when they mic'd us up. We wear them, when we're in the headquarters. If I'm not sitting at my desk away from folks, I'm wearing a mask. I'm washing my hands. And then also we're maintaining our social distance. The three of us are all social distanced up here. So please continue to do that. You're taking care of your ships in great fashion. Take care of your shipmates and yourself too amidst COVID. We got a little bit more of this to get through, but we're getting close. On the family separation allowance, we'll keep fighting for that because that's only fair to you. So stay tuned. We'll keep you informed. Thanks.
Thank you very much, CNP. Fleet, next question is for you. And when it comes to our sailors' careers, you can sum up what's on their minds in about 2 words, and those words being advancement exams. We have a question for you on that topic, so let's hear the question.
Hi, BMSN Justice Butler, assigned to CTS 75. My question is, with E4 exams being canceled, what do we expect as promotion in the future?
Fleet, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, Boats, thanks for the question. And in the near term, we are not going to have an exam for E4 in the spring. Just like we did on the other cycle previous this year, we're going to use the alternate final multiple scoring. And we think it worked pretty well, so we're going to continue to do it. And in the COVID environment, we think it's just right to limit the number of people that have to get together to take that exam. In the fall, we'll just have to see where we are with COVID and whether we can have an exam or not. But where we're really trying to go with exams is a couple of big ideas. The first is exams on demand. We really want to get away from 2 times a year. We're kind of limited by the system right now with paper exams to do that. But we'd like to examine you for advancement or have you take that test when you're ready. When you're time and rate eligible, when you have the eval and you're recommended by your command, you should sit for the test. We can grade that test and then we can create what's called your final multiple score. And we'd have a real-time rank or running average of final multiple scores. And when we have vacancy, we would promote sailors. We can tie that together with another concept called advance to position. Think about advancing or being paid for that next position when you assume the job, when you become a work center supervisor as an E5, or you become a leading petty officer as an E6, or as you become the chief petty officer managing a division full of sailors. That's really when we want to advance you. So we're going to work that into our MyNavy assignments, a detailing marketplace, and that's sort of the way of the future, to advance into vacancy and to advance into positions through the marketplace. The last thing that we're looking at is improving the advancement exam. Right now we got a multiple choice exam that you take, and we're looking at other options. Can we bring greater fidelity to the exam, i.e. can we fine tune it to your rating subspecialty or your NEC? Or perhaps can we just observe you doing your job, completing your occupational standards, and then have the chain of command, your chief petty officer, make a recommendation that you're ready for E4. So we're piloting some ideas with that right now under the OARS pilot, and it's an exciting time. So stay tuned to where we're going to go with advancements in the future. And thanks for that great question.
Okay, thanks, Fleet K. CNP, we've seen this next question over and over again on social media, and so we just plucked one of the many emails on this topic. And let's go ahead to the graphic here and get to that question. And this comes from David Wilder, who asks, what is the Navy's policy on charging sailors personal leave from ROM? If it's prohibited, then what specific message explicitly prohibits commands from doing this? Sir?
Yeah, David, thanks for that question. And that really is important. And I will tell you that as the CNO was in the fleet concentration areas, as Fleet and I have talked to sailors, that there were some misperceptions there. And quite frankly, we had sailors that would say, hey, this is the way my ship's doing it. The ship on the other side of the pier is doing it in a different way. That doesn't seem fair. We agree. So the CNO came out with a holiday message. One of the points that he made in that message is that he stated explicitly that personnel who are executing ROM are considered to be in a duty status. So ROM periods will not be counted as personal leave. So if you were charged leave for ROM, then you need to talk to your CPPA, your Command Pay and Personnel Assistant, as well as your command leadership team, and they'll help get that rectified. And remember that it's easy for that to be done. The MyNavy Career Center, 2 24/7 contact centers that they can also work that with to make it easy. But you know, as we look at holidays coming up, we all yearn to be with family. And again, all of us, I've spent most of my career at sea. I've missed plenty of birthdays and Christmas and Thanksgivings. I'm sorry for those of you who will have to do that this year again. Thanks for your service and your sacrifice. But for those that are able to get some time to rest and recharge, as CNO said, he wants the COs to make sure that as much as possible you have a chance to do that. Now, it may not look exactly the way it did pre-COVID. You may not be able to go exactly where you want to go pre-COVID. But his point was everyone needs a chance in some fashion to rest and recharge. So it'll look a little bit different around the world. but please make sure that you're doing that. Now, I'll also tell you that there needs to be a deliberate discussion with your chain of command. When we talk about ROM, Fleet and I work here, in a building in Washington, D.C., right? It's easy for us to have folks telework. In fact, 95% of our workforce is still teleworking, okay? So the conversation that I have, if they're going to go on leave to visit family, and it's a place that's red, that's hotter with COVID than here in Arlington, and we say, we think you're probably going to need to ROM when you get back, but you can telework, that's different than the discussion some of you are going to have, quite frankly. And the mission will dictate operationally what your chain of commands can support, but the CNO has stated it explicitly. We've put out pay bulletins to make it clear with that ROM that doesn't get charged as personal leave. So I do hope, first I wish all of you a happy and safe holiday. Take some time to rest and recharge. Be careful, take care of yourself, take care of your family, and take care of your shipmates, please. So I hope that answered your question.
Admiral, you are famous for saying the best ideas, the best feedback comes from the fleet. So in the spirit of that, as you're answering questions, sailors CONUS and OCONUS, ashore and afloat, are commenting on the MyNavy HR Facebook page. Let's head over to MC1 Tyler Preston and Lene Burns, who are live at the MyNavy HR feedback desk to give us an idea of what sailors are saying in response to your answer. So MC1 Preston, Lene, what are you hearing online?
Hi, Commander Hecht. Well, the interesting thing is as soon as the town hall started, we started seeing a lot of likes, a lot of people hitting that like button, some heart emojis as well. So that's good news. People are excited about this event. I'm going to read just a couple of comments that we've seen coming through. Sonia Maria said, God bless America. Sheila Sanaya said, nice information on the answers that they're hearing from the questions that are being asked. And Albert Lappy responded and commented in regards to family separation pay. He said, need to bring the old pay support system and not centralized process. He says it's very difficult to provide immediate support. So that's just a little feedback from my end. MC1, what are you seeing?
So some of the comments, a lot of the comments we've been seeing is about the exams that Fleet was talking about. Christopher de Bruler wonders who scored higher on the first wave of the people taking the exam or the second wave. And Jeff Lappin wants to know why we just don't get rid of exams completely and do oral boards with commands on a point system to eliminate paperwork and cost.
All right, so to continue that dialogue going, let's take some of that feedback and go over to Fleet and CNP and ask, any thoughts on this?
Well, yeah, on the we talked about oars for a minute. That's precisely the idea behind oars. The occupational advancement and readiness standards are built off of the occupational standards we use to make the rating exam. So you take the same sort of skills that we evaluate you on the exam, multiple choice, and we have you directly observed by your chain of command performing the duties of a third-class petty officer. And when they're confident, they would sign you off on that, and then you'd be ready for advancement when we had vacancy or quota availability. So we're looking at it, but we are a technical service, and so there are folks among us that want to make sure that we're getting into the books, and having to study for that exam is important. So we're piloting oars. We like the concept, but we really need to make sure that it's going to hold up that sort of technical aspect of our Navy. But we really appreciate the feedback.
Okay,
yeah.
And let's go back over to the feedback desk, though we do have time in this segment. We've got a couple of minutes left. Let's take a live question. MC1 Preston, is there a question that sticks out that somebody might have asked that we haven't already asked?
So the main question a lot of people are asking, this one comes from Carrie Smith, but it also comes from many others, is when can we expect the E4 to E6 advancement exam results to come out?
CNP?
Yeah, thanks. I'll take that one. And then I do want to loop back around, too, to one of our shipmates who asked about why don't we go back to the old personnel and pay system. So first of all, I know that you're all eager to see the results of the exams coming out. And, oh, by the way, we just had the Chiefs Board. We just finished up here fairly recently. And, again, that was a different timeline than what we're normally used to. Normally, we have advancement exam results out. The advancement quote is out next week prior to Thanksgiving, right? So couple of things. One, we had to extend the windows for the test taking because of COVID, and that was to keep you safe. We also had Hurricane Sally, who rolled in and disrupted some of the work that the team was doing to go ahead and kind of get everything processed. So the team has been working overtime. They've worked through the weekends. We will have those advancement results out between Thanksgiving and Christmas. So prior to the Christmas holiday, we should have all those out. I know that's probably not as quick as you'd like, but they're doing a lot of backflips for that. On the personnel and pay system, I find that a lot of times, I'm pretty old. I started Annapolis about 40 years ago, and I find that I find my memory is sometimes rosy with respect to how great things were. So I'm not throwing spears at hey, the personnel and pay system was so great, but I got to tell you, the metrics with respect to how quickly we can do things like process travel claims. When we had 100 PSDs all doing things a little bit differently, and we'd not centralized to places where all they do are things like travel claims or gains, right, when you come in the Navy, or reserve orders, as we've gone to these transaction service centers, we were running, somewhere around sometimes up to 80, 90 days to go ahead and process travel claims. We're at about 15 days right now for the Navy writ large once we have a clean claim. So you need to get it in with all the documentation, but doing that through this MyNavy Career Center construct. So I appreciate that comment, but the service you're getting now is better than the old system. Otherwise, we wouldn't have transformed the old system. So I hope, as you think about it, if you have questions, that'd be something that we could certainly talk more about.
Very good, very good. Okay, we're going to take a short commercial break, but stay tuned. When we come back, we're going to ask CNP and Fleet the #1 most requested question, their thoughts on beards, when we come back. Stay tuned.
Shipmates, your CNP John Nowell here, and this is the senior leadership of your Task Force One Navy, a diverse group by gender, race, rank, and life experiences.
We've been meeting virtually just like this with sailors worldwide, from all corners of the states to Japan, Italy, and Bahrain. We've also conducted face-to-face listening sessions as well.
So our goal is to level the playing field to ensure that everyone feels like a valued member of the team and is treated with dignity and respect. So if you're not contributing to the group by participating with one of the focus groups, you can still share your thoughts with us.
That's right, because as Admiral Nowell always says, the best ideas come from the fleet, and that includes you, my fellow civilians. You can contribute by contacting us at the email address on your screen.
We are a team. We are one Navy, and we want to hear from you.
Navy Recruiting Command is searching for candidates to join in the recruiting mission. Commands around the world need skilled men and women to stand the watch and take the place of those who've served. Being a recruiter has its benefits, like additional recruiting pay, numerous promotion opportunities from auto advancement E4 to E5, and meritorious advancement up to E7. Recruiters are also able to work close to their hometowns, and in some areas can earn 12 months of sea duty credit. If you're interested, talk to your detailer to become a recruiter today.
Question is aggressive. And welcome back, everybody, to the MyNavy HR Live Town Hall. I want to remind everyone to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. That's where you'll find all the career news you can use first. Okay, back to your questions. Now, CNP, following the death of George Floyd and all the protests that we saw across the United States, CNO stood up Task Force One Navy. Let's head out to sea for a question related to that very important topic.
Hello, sir. I am DC-3 Wolf from USS Halsey. With the Navy's ever-increasing diversity, how will we maintain an inclusive Navy while keeping equal expectations for all our sailors?
CNP?
Yeah, Petty Officer Wolf, thanks. It's great to see you there with the sea in the background on that great guided missile destroyer. You know, and that kind of highlights the power of diversity, and more importantly, the power of inclusive leadership as we leverage your skills and those of your shipmates. And the CNO did realize that. And quite frankly, it's not that the Navy has not been actively working inclusion and diversity for a number of years. Right? But I think it's safe to say that as we look at the tragedy of George Floyd and the CNO standing up Task Force 1 Navy, we looked at this as an opportunity to accelerate what we've been doing there. We looked at it as an opportunity to make sure there weren't areas that we'd missed. And perhaps, as importantly, we looked at it as an opportunity for Navy leaders at every level, and every person that I'm talking to is a Navy leader. Okay, from the 3-star down to a seaman recruit, but to have listening sessions, to talk to each other, to see how our shipmates are doing, how are they feeling, to empathize, and sometimes what someone needs most is that shipmate who's willing to listen. But what we have been doing most purposefully is listening. And then looking at where we can take that feedback to incorporate it in the recommendations that Task Force 1 Navy will provide to the CNO. Now, one piece that we already focus on with respect to inclusion and diversity, and recall that diversity is what we look like. Inclusion, though, is actively leveraging that as part of the team. It's great to have diversity. If you're not using it inclusively, then you're just not going to get the return on investment. So I&D, we've always stressed the core competencies, but you'll see us working those into the training for all of our sailors, officer and enlisted, in a more focused fashion, because we know that we need to train everyone to be inclusive leaders, and then we need to reinforce that. I think it's important to note that Task Force 1 Navy, though, is not kind of a one and done. There's natural skepticism that we're going to, we're doing something to get some attention. We're going to come up with a report. We'll do a few things. We'll put it on a shelf and it'll collect dust. I promise you that's not what's going to happen here. Task Force 1 Navy is part of our overarching culture of excellence campaign plan. The fourth line of effort in that, because we're sailors, we're war fighters, and the way we fight wars is by campaign plans. So the COE campaign plan, that fourth line of effort, is inclusion and diversity, and it is designed to address the full range, right? That full spectrum of system inequality. It's to advocate for the needs of our underserved communities, and we are working hard. We have, and we will continue to work hard to dismantle any barriers that are there and to equalize professional development opportunities for all of our sailors to make sure that everyone can take advantage of all the opportunities in the Navy. And so that's what this culture of excellence is all about. If you go back to our core values, right? Honor, courage, commitment. What underlies all of those? Respect. Respect for each other. Respect for our mission. Respect for our Navy and for our nation. And we know that when sailors feel included, when they feel respected and empowered, that they're going to be more ready and that they're going to fight the better fight. That's as true for Fleet Koschoffer and I as we fight the battles here inside the Beltway, right? As it is for you. And it's important at every level. So let me just ask all of you, think about how can you be a more inclusive leader? It's something to pause and just throughout the day when something comes up, sometimes take a deep breath and say, maybe I need to listen a little bit more. Maybe I need to work on being a little more inclusive. I used to tell folks when I was CEO of Porter that your feedback is really important. It just takes one person to break the error chain, right? So an inclusive team, one person may say, Captain, do you see the ship on the port or starboard side? Now, if I say duck, It might mean that someone just shot at us, so I want you to duck right now. Then give me your feedback, okay? But this idea of inclusivity, it's not new to the Navy, but we can do better. And I'll ask that each one of you think about how you can do better there. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much, CNP. Fleet, that time has come. The question is, beards. Do I really have to say any more than that? But I will. Let's get to the official question, and it comes to us from LS1 James Martis, who writes, if SEALs can wear beards while operational and ships' crews can have beards between port calls, then why can't we just drop the pretense of operational safety and relax male grooming standards to allow for beards? Retention and morale, he writes, would skyrocket if this change was made. Fleet, over to you for your response.
Yeah, great. I appreciate that I get the easy questions. But, hey, look, there's been a lot of discussion over the last couple of years about beards. In fact, 30 years ago, Navy leaders made the decision to do away with beards, more than 30 years, that they just didn't present the right military appearance that we were going for at the time. So I'll address a couple of things that were in your question. First, the SEALs and sort of underway operations. There's no language or policy that says that the SEALs are authorized to have, beards but they use that operationally in certain scenarios and situations. The same with morale, welfare, and recreation. There's not a policy that authorizes a CO to grant beard chits or MWR to do, beard chits when a ship is underway. The CO or that command team or that group is accepting some risk. It's not a pretense about the safety. As the beard conversation started to come up again a few years ago, we went back to the safety center and we pulled the old study and we asked them to take another look at the study because it was just an overwhelming flurry of requests on beards, change the grooming standards, please. So we asked them again to look at that, and they came back and unequivocally said that you're at risk if you have any amount of facial hair and you're trying to achieve a SEAL, in particular in a gas mask, but even in a force-fed SCBA apparatus. When you look at the OSHA standards in civilian industries, clean-shaven, clean skin or face in order to achieve a proper SEAL when using respiratory equipment. So we're not making that up. And we got to be ready to fight, especially at sea. And Bonhomme Richard, a very recent event that drives home to us that we got to be ready to fight fire at any time, in port or at sea, attached to an operational unit. So there is sort of a difference between the way we view the policy ashore and at sea. At sea, it's not a pretense. It really is about safety. I think back to when I was on board submarines during my career and we grew beards, or I was a part of the group that convinced the captain to allow us to grow beards. I didn't recognize the risks that I was accepting or asking the captain to accept them. In port, we are granting some religious accommodation for people that have a bona fide religious practice of unshorn facial hair or other religious accommodations. So safety is what it really is about. The discussion of shore-based really is just grooming standards, but I think that's an issue for leaders that are far more senior than I am. So, CNP, do you want to weigh in on that?
Why, thank you, Fleet. Hey, I'll just say that. Look, we're always looking at that, and I have a son in the Navy. Trust me, over a beer when we're next able to get together. With COVID, it's been a year now. But I'm sure Lieutenant Nowell will say, Dad, what about those beards? And we continue to look at that. But Fleet set it up for you. It's about safety at sea, and we'll continue to evaluate it as we look at what we're doing ashore. We're not quite ready to pull that trigger yet, but we hear your feedback, and it's something that we're taking into consideration.
Well, speaking of feedback, knowing how much interest there is in this topic, I'd like to go back over to the feedback desk, and based on what you both have just said, let's find out what the sailors are saying in response to that. So MC1 and Lene, what kind of comments are we getting in response to those comments?
Well, Commander Hecht, as you might imagine, there are quite a few comments. Most of them are probably along the lines of, they would like to see them come back there asking, for more information about it and hoping that eventually it would change. But at the same time, there are some other comments that agree with this position as well. James Havarnick, for example, did say, beards, please, they're great. And if they can be kept up, they can be professional. That was his opinion that he posted. But again, like I said, a lot of comments with sailors disappointed and wanting to actually have beards be a possibility. There were some comparisons to other countries and other branches of the military and other countries that allow it. So that comparison and the questions, they are hearing the answers about safety concerns and responding to that as well. MC,
Yeah,
what
there's
are
a lot
your
of people
thoughts?
that are still questioning the safety questions. They're not 100% believing that, and I don't think some sailors ever will. And a lot of sailors still want the beards on shore duty. There's also a lot of comments that are just if they keep it professional. There's also some that aren't beard related, of people wanting feedback for selection boards, and comments that selection results for advancement exams taking too long.
Okay, let's go back. Lene, you brought up an interesting topic. I have heard about people saying this country does it and that country does it. Any response to the comments about other countries allow their sailors to have beards?
Yeah, I tell you, let me jump in and then we'll see what Fleet has here. So one, with respect to the other services, I will share with you that here within the last week, I had a dialogue with my other service counterparts, the G1 from the Marine Corps, from the Army, the A1 from the Air Force. None of our services right now are allowing beards other than for PFB, okay, which we do. And oh, by the way, we've worked that in a manner where we're not kicking folks out because of PFB. If sailors will just work with us, we want to make sure that we get that treated. That's about safety. That's a little bit different discussion. But that and the religious accommodation. But otherwise, the Air Force, the Army, the Marines, they are not running around with beards ashore. They are getting much the same feedback that we are. And as we said, we are listening. And then some countries do allow it, others do not. But again, my job, quite frankly, isn't keeping someone in the German Navy safe. It's keeping you safe. And the Safety Center surveys are very clear, and we've had them updated twice now within the last 2 years. For a self-contained breathing apparatus and for gas mask, you can't get a proper seal if you have a beard, any amount of facial growth. And that's why, as Fleet said, you also don't see the fire departments. I know everybody thinks that they have the calendars with the firefighters on them, in a tank top, that, where they've got beards. Trust me, they don't. There's OSHA standards that govern them. They're not able to do it either. So we know you want it. We're listening to you. We're being honest and transparent with why right now the answer is no. It does not mean as we look, especially really ashore, that it's not something that we won't consider here in the future. But we're not there quite yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's probably some people commenting you've already spent too much time talking. We got this one of our previous all hands calls that you're spending too much time. We went to the other services in other countries and asked them about their beard policies. And so I'd want sailors out there to know that we really listen to all of your feedback. We're not treating this flippantly like it's a joke. There are a lot of sailors that really question, why can't we have beards? We'd like to have beards. We take it seriously. We evaluate it against safety and other protocols and good order and discipline. And we just right now aren't ready to call the ball on that. But if you're a sailor out there, the opportunity, or you should at least know that your feedback is heard at the highest level to the decision makers in the Navy, and they take it very, very seriously. So whether we decide this here in the next year or so to change the grooming standards or not, keep sending your feedback, and we will keep evaluating it, and we take it all very seriously.
Okay, we're out of time in this segment. We will get another live question from the feedback desk in just a minute, but we got to go to commercial break. Because of COVID, shipmates, you've probably stockpiled a ton of leave. Should you be able to sell that leave back for some extra cash? CNP will answer that question when we come back. We'll also tackle the very important topic of mental health. You're watching the MyNavy HR Live Town Hall. We'll be right back.
Properly storing your firearm can help prevent suicide. Firearms are the most common method of suicide in the United States. Studies have shown that when a highly lethal method of suicide is less accessible, the likelihood of an immediate attempt decreases. A few moments to retrieve and unlock a secured firearm can interrupt the impulse and open the door for help. Help is always available through your local Navy chaplain, Fleet and Family Support Center, or the Military Crisis Line.
PCSing is stressful. With so many steps to consider like household goods, travel costs, and deadlines, it can be overwhelming. But now, thanks to the MyPCS app, the process just got a lot simpler. Once sailors complete a one-time login using their Common Access Card, or CAC, access to the MyPCS app is completely CAC-free and available for use on smartphones, tablets, laptops, and desktop computers. So, what can you do in the app? Using the checklist provided, sailors can complete the PCS process one step at a time, working their way through each category including shipping household goods, family move, sailor admin, entitlements, and budgeting. The app also allows users to view their simplified lien orders and offers tips and resources based on the sailor's detachment date. More information can be found in NAV Admin 161-19 or by contacting the MyNavy Career Center.
And welcome back to the MyNavy HR Live Town Hall. CNP, we currently have 14,000 reservists currently on active duty orders around the world. And there seems to be some frustration with the order writing process. A sailor stationed in 6th Fleet writes us and says, how can we get the reserve order processing streamlined so that reservists aren't waiting 30 to 60 days for their first paycheck on ADOS orders? Sir?
Yeah, thanks, Dave, and thanks, Shipmate, for that question. I have to tell you, first of all, let's just acknowledge 14,000 reserve sailors right now as part of the total force that are helping us. As we look amidst COVID at what some of our reserve shipmates have done, it is simply incredible. So I don't ever talk about just AC or just RC. It's always about total force. So I think it would probably surprise a lot of my AC shipmates that our reserve sailors are on a totally different pay system. And if you think our pay system is hosed up, you ought to see their pay system. So that's one of the reasons that there are so many issues with respect to reserve pay and how it works. It's different than what Fleet Koschhofer and I are used to as active components. So we knew that. We're doing an overarching MyNavy HR transformation. Part of that is to take these 40-year-old IT systems with 70-year-old processes and transform it into a new pay and personnel system, and that's called NP2. It's pretty original. Stand by, Navy Personnel and Pay System, NP2, right? Took us a while to think that one up. So, but last September, we delivered the first piece of that. It was MyPCS Mobile, and that's a mobile app. It's something where you do a one-time, link between your CAC card and multi-factor authentication, and then you can use it on your iPhone, on your Android, on a tablet, however you want to do it, or you can use it with your CAC card, in a government machine. But that was the initial component of this new Navy Personnel and Pay System, NP2. If you haven't used it, I hope your next set of orders you will. You can get lien orders, which means they're written in English. Your spouse or family can understand them. It gives you a PCS checklist that's pre-filled in. You can sign up and get on the housing waiting list, the CDC waiting list, and perhaps most importantly, you can do your travel claim on it. And the great thing there is that 0 errors once that travel claim goes in. So that in and of itself really decreases the amount of time that it takes to process travel claims and things like that. So we rolled that out okay, as part of Navy personnel and pay system. But what's really exciting, going back to our reserve shipmate, is that here over the next year, so during calendar year 21, we're going to be iteratively bringing on board elements of NP2 with a new leave processing system, reserve drill interface, reserve pay and reserve orders, and then the beginning of January in 22, we'll go to an integrated personnel and pay system for both the active component and the reserve component together. You can get to that via MyNavy portal, one-stop shopping MNP. You can call the MyNavy Career Center contact centers, 2 of them 24/7. Call them when it's convenient to you, okay, not when it's convenient to us. And this is all part of this moving away from old, outdated legacy systems, okay, that frankly suck, to systems that are new, that are modern, that are what you're used to doing your banking on, your insurance on. Think the USAA contact center. Think how you do your banking with NFCU on your iPhone. That's what we're going to. In many cases, we're there, but we'll continue to spiral it. And so the next big thing for our reservists is going to be NP2 coming out here January of 22.
Straight talk from CNP. You got to love it. Fleet, the next question is to you, and there is no doubt about it. We live in some very stressful times. It's stressful on our sailors, it's stressful on our spouses, it's stressful on our children. Let's take a question on the topic of mental health.
Greetings, I'm H1 Brian Neely for PCU John F. Kennedy. Shipmate Self has been the unofficial motto since I joined in 2005. With the recent uptick in behavioral health challenges as well as preventable mishaps, what tangible processes are being developed to refocus and put the sailor at the center?
Fleet?
Well, HM1, thank you for that question. And I think what you're really drilling in on is suicide and suicide-related behavior and the challenges that we have there. So I'll start with the shipmate self, and the idea behind that is not to sacrifice it all for the ship. The real idea behind that is if shipmates are looking out for shipmates, then we got a lot of eyes on us, and we've got a lot of watch team backup, and that's really the core of what that means. Another mantra you might have heard is mission first, sailors always, and that's kind of a play on the same concept there. So I'm concerned with suicide. It keeps me awake at night. Our Navy leaders are concerned with suicide. Right now, we look at the numbers over the last 3 years, and we're sort of at a steady state. A tough year with COVID, and we know the fatigue is real and it's having impact. But right now, we're about where we've been for the last 2 years, overall suicide numbers. We are seeing upticks in sort of suicide-related behavior and other things. So what are we doing about it? One, we're trying to adequately man the fleet. We're trying to close gaps at sea as quickly as possible. We brought a lot of sailors into the Navy over the last couple of years to try to get after that, because sort of gaps at sea breed more work for the sailors that are not there. Being undermanned just puts strain on everybody involved, and so we've been going after that. We've been growing the mental health support services all around the Navy, hiring mental health professionals, whether that's directly medical support personnel or deployed resiliency counselors or educators or behavioral health technicians. We're trying to move those resources closer to the waterfront. We've started a lot of training initiatives. Think warrior toughness at Recruit Training Command, where we try to teach stress coping techniques and performance enhancing techniques like goal setting, visualization, and breathing techniques to help you deal with stress. And if you work your way sort of from boot camp all the way out into the fleet, we're just layering resources upon resources to try to get after mental health. We're taking it seriously. We've got a ton of programs. Something that you're going to see very soon is enhancements to the command resilience team and their ability to teach operational stress control, or to do human factors council meetings where we examine the entire command and the stress factors for everybody that's there. We're going to arm them with a risk mitigation dashboard to help analyze sort of conditions on the deck plate and see what's affecting our sailors. Just helping teams connect the dots to what's going on, but none of that is going to work without what we know is really critical, and that's shipmates looking out for shipmates. We can make the resources available on the waterfront, more chaplains, more mental health resources closer to you. But if we don't use them, or if we don't spot the individuals that need them and vector them to the help, it's all kind of for naught. So I hope you know that we take it very, very seriously. We're throwing resources at it. We're trying to create an ecosystem around our sailors and training and support to help us deal with it. And it's a big challenge. So behavioral health technicians, medical professionals like yourself are a big part of the solution. But shipmates looking out for shipmates and staying connected with each other is where I think it's really at.
Speaking of resources, Fleet, before we go to the next question, I want to pass along a few numbers for anyone who may be going through a difficult time. Military One Source has a confidential line manned 24/7. Just dial 800-342-9647. There's also a Real Warriors live chat line. They can be reached at 866-966-1020. And if you feel more comfortable just texting with someone, the crisis text line can be reached by texting 741-741. Again, that's 741-741. Please, if you need help, help is available for you. CNP, next question is for you, sir, and it comes from CW03 Butaw, who has an interesting idea. In short, he says, times are tough, a lot of spouses have been laid off, and he thinks officers and enlisted should be able to sell their unused leave that's just piling up. What are your thoughts on that suggestion?
Yeah, thanks, Dave. And Warrant Officer Buto, thanks for that, and totally understand. There's a federal law that governs leave sellback, and so, as you may know, up to 60 days can be sold back over a career. But there are special time frames that you can do that, right? And generally we sort of associate that with as we're going to get out of the Navy. So recognizing that there has been an impact on folks being able to take leave amidst COVID, OSD did approve a special leave accrual account so you can carry over in excess of 60 days. They carried that into FY21. And I think you'll see that also continue, I want to say, through FY23. So your CPPA or your career counselor can give you additional details on that. You can also call the MyNavy Career Center 24 hours a day, as we've talked about. Let me loop back around, though, to you have a good idea, and it's one that we've taken down. And as we talk with the professional staff members on the Hill, you know, that's an area that is ripe for possible change. And so we'll include that in our discussions, though, as we look at more flexibility. What we really want is to give the Navy as much flexibility as possible when it comes to things like that. So thanks for that question.
CNP, I know how much you appreciate the service and sacrifice of our families. You even make a point to end every social media video with a message of thanks. So with that, we've received a number of questions about what's being done to support families, especially those with little ones during the pandemic. This email from CS1 Clay describes the struggles families are encountering with childcare in virtual schools. She's looking for a black and white policy that helps dual military families because she feels those families are most vulnerable. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, CS1 Clay, thank you, and thanks for what you're doing. As we look at being a dual military family, we know, first of all, we've worked very, very hard to make that something that is very doable. And again, when you look at, quite frankly, when you look at the benefits, when you hit retirement or while you're in, it's eye-watering. That said, sometimes are harder than others, and we're in a hard time. We're in a tough environment for what you're doing. And quite frankly, we know that it's kind of beyond what some of our family care plans were designed for. But we are a seagoing Navy. We still need those family care plans. And so we looked at, your idea of, hey, I want to see in black and white, nail it down specifically as we look at that family care plan policy. That's hard to do. I think if I actually did what you're asking, you might not like it because it would give your command fewer options to try and take care of you, to take care of your spouse, and it'll be a little bit different at your command, I suspect, versus the command that your spouse is with. So I will just tell you that we have looked, though, to try and make sure that our commanders know that give the most flexibility that you can to the folks that work for you, whether they're officer, enlisted, or civilians, okay, as we look at how they can carry out the mission. If you're on a ship, I probably need you to be on a ship. If you're in a place like my headquarters, I'm able to have 95% of our folks telework. Sometimes we need to bring them in, sometimes not. And Fairfax County, and my wife is a school teacher, so we're living this personally as well. So, but with COVID gets a vote, which makes it hard. So we've tried to promote as much flexibility for you as possible, but not to necessarily write things in black and white where it's so rigid that there's not some options that your command can exercise for you. So I hope that makes sense to you. Let me just loop back around and say thanks for what you and your spouse are doing for the Navy.
Thanks, CNP. We've covered a lot of ground in this segment, so let's head back over to the feedback desk to find out what sailors are saying. So MC1 Preston, Lene, what do you see online?
Well, Commander Hecht, it's been really interesting. This segment has definitely brought in a lot of comments. Regarding the paycheck process, just want to share a couple comments. One from Noah Romley, who said comparing pay systems isn't the answer. We need to fix the root of the issue. That's his opinion that he expressed. And Adam Spicer said give command admins more power to fix and change pay. Regarding mental health, this was really interesting to me. Leading up to this segment, we saw a lot of comments of people asking about mental health and for more information about what's being done to help folks out there who need help. But while the question was being answered, the comments veered off to a different topic because it seemed like people were really soaking in the answers that were given and the resources that were being provided, really taking note. And so questions started trickling after that, but the majority of those questions were about different topics because people were really focusing on the answers that were being given for mental health. I thought that was really interesting.
Well, then let's go ahead and go to one of those other questions that are coming in. So MC1 Preston, what's one of the questions that seems to be of interest to sailors?
So the one main topic is a lot of the people that I see is on mental health is not that there's a problem with the resources. They said the resources have always been there, that it's a leadership problem, and that specific command leaderships are the main driving factor that are adding stress to sailors and are causing some of the mental health issues. Other than that, a big question that is on people's mind is there any update to the NavFit 98 that's currently in use?
Okay, so CNP, Fleet?
Where do you want to go? Do you want to talk NavFit 98 or do you want to address?
Hey, I'll tell you what. If you want to talk NavFit or I can. What I do want to loop back around though on is the idea of the resources for mental health. Fleet really banged the drum, but at the end of the day, what's most important is shipmates taking care of shipmates, and that command leadership team really important. And so when we talk about the command resilience team. We're recall that we used to have the command assessment team. We'd take the yearly survey, they would do a look at it, and then frankly, they kind of it would go on the shelf. The idea of the command resilience team is 24/7. The leadership looking at warning signals to try and make sure they know when a division, when a work center, when an individual is standing into danger. And needs a little bit of help. And shipmates, we all need a little bit of help sometime. We all need, right, to take a knee sometimes, senior leaders or very junior leaders. So I'm really excited with the CRTs, okay, because that's all about deck plates leadership. And it does go back to command climate. That takes us back to culture of excellence. We want commands where you want to come in the morning and go to work. You feel good about what you're doing. You're proud to be part of that unit. And we know that some ships do it better than others. And so we're going to work some of that with training. We're going to work some of that, and Fleet will tell you about NavFit, but where we're going to transform our performance evaluation system where, you know, quite frankly, we root out toxic leaders at an earlier age, officer or enlisted, so that there's more equalization of ships doing it right, great command climate. I want to be on that ship. I'm proud to be on this ship. We know that those ships celebrate the signature behaviors. We know that those ships have fewer destructive behaviors, and they take care of each other better. So we're heading that way. Over to you on NavFit.
Yeah, well, working into where we're going to go with evaluations and coaching, I just want to acknowledge the feedback sort of about that local working environment. And I fully acknowledge that leading petty officer and the chief petty officer, that department chief and department head have a lot more to do with the morale and the mental health and the well-being for that sailor on the deck plate than C or P or I do here with a 10,000-mile screwdriver in our policy changes. So acknowledged. And I'll say this, every sailor deserves a damn good leading petty officer, a damn good chief petty officer, just damn good leadership. And I think what I heard you say is we're making it a little too hard, or you're not seeing the quality of leadership that you're looking for. So we've recently launched a new series of enlisted leader development courses that will help a little bit. But I will take for action sort of your feedback on the quality of or how you view your leadership. Then we'll get going with MyNavy coaching, which we're piloting now out on the waterfront. And the idea on MyNavy coaching is transform the midterm counseling and what we've been doing in a career development board into more time coaching, less time grading homework. Really teach people how to give the feedback that you're looking for to improve your performance and to improve the performance of our leaders that are out there. Specifically with NavFit 98. We thought we were going to replace it, lock, stock, and barrel with a new system. But the further we got into that, it's just more complicated than we're ready to launch right now. So what we're going to do is sort of take NavFit 98 into the 21st century, digitize that, and we're really going to focus the next year on improving the coaching, not the evaluation system. So stay tuned. More to follow on NavFit 98 being digitized and MyNavy coaching, which is being piloted in the fleet right now.
Fleet, you took the words right out of my mouth. Stay tuned. We're going to be taking a short break, but when we come back, we're going to be talking about uniforms, everyone's favorite topic. We know there's new guidance about rank tabs, but what about putting your rank on your cover? We're going to hear from Fleet K on that topic when we come back. You're watching the MyNavy HR Live Town Hall from the headquarters of the Chief of Naval Personnel. Stay tuned.
Why choose forward deployed duty? Serving overseas is a proven way to supercharge your career. Sailors serving overseas advance at a higher rate than the rest of the Navy. Sailors may also be eligible for extra pay. For more information, contact your command career counselor.
Navy Recruiting Command is searching for sailors to join the team. Technology has become an ever-increasing part of everyday life and recruiting. Thanks to our transformation efforts, our e-talent managers, cyber recruiting, and bio-ID technologies, recruiters have successfully integrated digital advancements into their day-to-day workflow. If you're looking for an exciting job that is filled with benefits, recruiting is for you. Contact your detailer to become part of our team.
RRL, what is it? Ready Relevant Learning. It's an all-inclusive approach to training our enlisted force. RRL accelerates learning and better prepares sailors for warfighting in operational environments. RRL provides the right training at the right time in the right way for our sailors. It's a modern approach that uses the science of learning. For more information on Ready Relevant Learning, visit netc.navy.mil/RRL. All right, we're about an hour and 15 minutes into our town hall. CNP and Fleet stretching their legs a little bit here. But we want to remind all of our sailors out there that if you find this information useful, this is the type of content that we post every day on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So follow us and always be the first in the know. CNP, we have another question that pertains to reservists. It comes from MC1 Thomas, and here's the question.
Good evening, sir. Is it possible to change GovCC regulation to allow reservists on overseas ADOS orders to use their GovCC when checking into the command? The process of being gained into active duty usually results in a delay in pay, and many don't have enough saved to front the initial cost of TLA and housing. Also, how can we get reserve order processing streamlined so reservists aren't waiting 30 to 60 days for their first paycheck on ADOS orders?
Yeah, Petty Officer Thomas, that's a great question. Thanks for that. So first, the Reserve Force Standard Operating Procedure is that the NOSC will activate a reservist government travel credit card, and then you can go ahead and use that. And again, but whether AC or RC, that's been a huge game changer. So everybody ought to take advantage of that. With respect to the mobilization of ADOS orders, that's one to talk to the CPPA at your current command about, or I apologize, that's one where actually you can reach out to the MyNavy Career Center to go ahead and work that. But going back to sort of where are we going on the reserve side with streamlining orders, recall the discussion on the Navy personnel and pay system. And so that's where truly it will get streamlined. I'll mention one other thing, though. So our contact center in Norfolk, we have two 24/7 contact centers. One is in Millington. That's co-located with our transaction service center that does all the travel claims. The other is in is in Norfolk. It has been an hour and 15 minutes. Is in Norfolk, and so that's co-located with our transaction service center that services all of our reserve orders. So even in advance of NP2 coming online, we're working and have worked kind of the process and the policy and where we have the pros from Dover to do that better and do it more quickly. And frankly, we've seen that pay off amidst a lot of the mobilizations we've done for COVID, both the mobilizations and the demobilizations. So we're working that one. We're working that one hard.
CNP, you've been in the Navy for more than 3 decades, and I'm sure in that time you've seen a lot of technological advancements. And because of those technological advancements, I'm sure that you've seen a lot of ratings evolve, which is the topic of this next question. It comes to us from Master Chief Xavier Gamez, and he writes, there are some big things happening in unmanned systems. Has there been any discussion on creating an unmanned systems rate or fiscal incentives to retain sailors who maintain or operate these systems?
Yeah, thanks, Dave. And Master Chief, thank you for that. It's a very thoughtful question. And it's not the first time that we've heard that. And I will tell you that, that the discussion on unmanned systems is pretty robust here throughout the Navy, but certainly in Washington, D.C. So the first point that I'd make is that our unmanned systems are fairly diverse, right? So we have unmanned underwater vehicles, we have unmanned aerial vehicles, and they're very, very different. And so that requires different skill sets and right now requires different ratings. So right now we're not looking at sort of a unmanned rating writ large, but one day we may be going down that path. But I think for right now we're going to continue the current construct. But we are looking at that kind of by community and what's that mixed. And so your feedback will be really important there. We're always looking at ratings and when do we expand, when do we compress, or when do we just get rid of a rating? And that's a really good question, and one that I think that you probably will see more movement on that as we continue down that path and get some run time with those unmanned systems. On the compensation side, as you know, there are many of the ratings that are operating those systems that do get fairly sizable SRBs, and we'll continue looking at that. And what I really want to do, and with my wingman Fleet Koschhofer, is how do we blend those monetary and non-monetary incentives in this detailing marketplace so that we know what incentivizes you to stay in the Navy or to go where we need you to go in the Navy, or to understand what opportunities for things like conversion and cross rating there are. Once we've spent the money to sailorize folks, if you're good, we want to keep you. And so we're working hard to do that in a better fashion and at scale. So thanks again for that question, Master Chief.
Fleet, we threw you a softball question before with Beard, so we'll throw you another softball question now on uniforms.
Well, thank you.
This month we put out a nav admin allowing sailors to wear a black rank tab to make it easier to identify sailors' rank from a distance. That policy update was met with mixed reviews. Michael Gray emailed us not about the rank tab on the blouse, but about being able to wear it on his 8-point cover. He says it would help tremendously. Fleet, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think we've had visibility challenges with the rank insignia here since we've gone to this style of uniform. But to replay the tape or back up for just a second, we moved away from the rank on the cover when we shifted to the Type 3 to this style of uniform. Much like the Marine Corps had their anchor, globe, and eagle, or eagle, globe, and anchor, we have our anchor, Constitution, and eagle. And we wanted to move it off the camouflage pattern, so we put it onto the cover and we moved forward, and we got some feedback on that. We thought it was a good idea at the time because it was one less rank insignia you had to wear. A lot of people weren't wearing their 8-point cover anyway, as many commands were using a command ball cap. And indoors, having the rank on the ball cap was kind of useless. So we thought we'd save you some money, we'd streamline, less things to think about, kind of made it easier. But the feedback has sort of been that the visibility challenge is still there, and so we are exploring other options. We're trying not to spend a ton of money. We got a lot of really important things to do as a Navy. We're trying to keep things stable in uniforms and just make minor changes to improve the uniform rather than introducing new stuff. So we decided to authorize the alternate rank tab from the cold weather parka because we thought it would improve visibility. I think we're going to continue talking about it for a little while. I don't know that we're going back to the rank on the cover. It's good feedback. It's an idea. I know the collar device insignia is another option that has been proposed and that we explore. But you really got to look at all of these factors. What are we trying to do? Do we want to cost you money? Do we want you to have to outfit or change your uniform? Does it help us solve this visibility challenge, et cetera, et cetera? And when you throw that all into the mix, I'd say, sir, whatever we do, we're going to take a pretty good hard look at it before we introduce another change to the system, right?
Yeah, we clearly heard, Fleet, from you, right? That you were tired of change after change after change. Some of them huge. It's expensive. It's hard on the sea bag. It's hard to keep track of. And so we're trying to streamline it to be smart. Everything we're doing is what I call commonsensical, right? Let's look at it the way a sailor would, and does it make sense? And so I accept, going back to the using the cold weather parka rank tab, right, the black one. Gang, we're doing that because we had shipmates primarily female shipmates who said, when I walk up to Fleet and I'm trying to figure out, because it kind of blends in a little bit, right? What the rank is, somebody's focusing on my chest. That's pretty uncomfortable if you're a woman, right? And there's nothing wrong with saying that, but we were hearing that, and so we said, well, what do you think? What do you think the answer is? And the feedback from the fleet was, well, you already have some rank tabs that are out there, like the cold weather parka. We also looked at like a coyote brown one, but since you need that black one anyway, and recall that we're going to the cold weather parka, it's something where you can use it on either uniform. But oh, by the way, you don't have to use it. Male or female, it's optional. So that's the way we're trying to do these things. We think it just makes sense. I want to give you more options. I don't want to box you into a corner. And if we box you into a corner and you think it's stupid, then give us feedback, and then we'll look at making a change here. So it's about that simple. But again, we'll keep looking at those. And I would invite you to make sure that if you have ideas with uniforms, we have a uniform focus group. It meets on about a monthly to bi-monthly basis. It's whoever wants to join, right? You can go to our webpage and get linked in there. And it's your chance to go ahead and get your 2 cents worth in. And we look at all of that. And that's where a lot of our ideas on just things that we can kind of tweak around the edges and are easy fixes where we get them. So don't complain. Come in with, here's my issue and here's a solution.
When we put out that NAV admin on social media, it reached an audience of about 500,000. So there's a lot of interest here. Let's go back over to the feedback desk. And Lene and MC1, what's some of the feedback that we're hearing based on what CNP and Fleet had to say in regards to rank tabs and on their cover?
MC1, thanks, Commander Hecht. MC1, do you want to take some of those?
Yeah, there's a lot of different comments. Some people don't see the reason why we keep having to change a lot of different uniforms all too much. A lot of people are saying focus more on the real questions, but even though we have already talked about that, suicide. A lot of people want to know about childcare with COVID environment, how the effects of when the vaccine comes out. There's a lot of saying that people focus on the real topics.
Okay.
Hey, can I?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I want to jump right in on that. Because shipmate, we are able to walk and chew bubble gum at the same time. And I can't tell you how much, I'm going to be very blunt here. I can't tell you how much it frustrates me when I hear somebody say, why are you talking about that? Why are you focusing on that? Why don't you focus on what's really important? We are focusing on what's really important. And suicides is at the very top of the list. So based upon the fact that we had shipmates who said, I have a problem, can you help solve it? We can do that, not to the exclusion of making sure that we're focusing on gaps at sea, on modernizing our talent management system, on supporting you better. So please don't use that argument with me now. You can all pile in and pillory me, okay, in the comment section, and I'll take all that feedback. But please don't use that one to say that that's not important. It was important enough to a segment of our sailors that it was a pain point, and we addressed it. That's all we're saying. Trust me when I tell you we're focusing on all the rest of it. Now, I probably forgot the rest of that question. So,
I think you covered it well.
Yeah, okay. And I'm not, and wait a minute, I'm not attacking you. I don't mean it like that, because we appreciate all of your feedback. So thank you for that. But please trust that we do a lot of different things here throughout MyNavy HR, 24,000 people, and we're working all kinds of stuff in parallel. And trying to just be smart about how we're doing it. So thank you.
All right, thanks, CNP. We are not done yet. We have one more segment to go. When we come back, we're going to be talking about tuition assistance, and we'll have time for one or two more live questions from the fleet. Stay tuned. You're watching the MyNavy HR Live Town Hall. We'll be right back.
Have you heard? There is a great way to stay informed about what's going on around the fleet. whether you're on shore or sea duty. The Chief of Naval Personnel has a periodic newsletter called the Sailor to Sailor Newsletter. It discusses a range of information from hot topics to support for our personnel to stories about sailors across the fleet and much more. For more information, check out MyNavy HR.
The MyNavy Career Center is the Navy's 24/7 customer service organization to support sailors' human resource needs. It provides personnel, pay, and training support to sailors, their families, veterans, and the Navy as a whole. MNCC is focused on delivering accurate, timely, and exceptional customer service to sailors so they can focus on what's important.
Too soon.
And welcome back, everyone, and thanks for sticking with us. We've covered a lot of important topics over the past hour: mental health programs, family separation pay, inclusion and diversity, and advancement exams, just to name a few. This next question is on self-improvement. Roll the tape.
I'm in the Navy and I'm looking to further my education. What options do I have?
Okay, so let's go over to Fleet on this one.
Well, thanks. What a great question. And I'd say you're in the right place. A lot of people join the Navy for education, for opportunity to improve themselves. And there's a lot of ways to improve yourself or to look at education. So I'll give you some same advice that I got from some of my leaders back in the day, from an old Chief Petty Officer. Their advice was, first, get really good at your job. Get qualified to stand watches and to support the team. Get a copy of your bibliography and make sure that you're working your way down the references that are listed. The same references that are part of your occupational standards that are used to generate your advancement exam. Just get really, really good at your job. The next step is to look at a couple resources. One, COOL, Credentialing Online, Navy COOL, and US MAP, United Service Apprentice Program. You can get credit for the things that you're doing right now toward different credentials and certifications that are tied again to you being really good at your job. If you go to the Navy COOL website, I think you'll be pretty impressed with what you find there. So get yourself enrolled in the apprentice program, take a look at Navy COOL. Then, when you start hitting on all cylinders there, really good at your job, maybe getting credit, looking at credentials and apprentice opportunity, then I'd encourage you to start looking at college programs after that. And we have a plethora of resources there. Just earlier today, I was talking to a sailor and ended up logging on to the Navy College website, which has just been redone. It's now MyNavy Education. You can meet with a virtual counselor online, or you can meet with your career counselor at your command. But they'll show you all the options toward degree paths that are there. You can use tuition assistance. You can use the NC PACE, or the College Afloat program, which is specifically designed for sailors at sea in low bandwidth situations. And as of today, we've identified about 500 sailors to take part in a pilot for the Navy's new community college. So we're going to have college resources there for you. There's a lot of ways to skin that cat. But please do go check out the Navy COOL, the Navy College website. And one last thing that we've just rolled out, Mill Gears. If you go to millgears.mil, or if you just Google Mill Gears, in there, there's interactive software to help you look at the rating you're in, sort of related credentialing opportunities, related civilian occupations, and which educational paths really fit where you want to go in your Navy career or in your life after that. So hopefully you've already talked about some of this at your first career development board. If you haven't, go grab your LPO, grab your chief, grab the career counselor, sit down, talk about that, look at the resources. You're in a really good place to make yourself better. Everyone that serves in this Navy kind of leaves better, faster, stronger, in my humble opinion. So I hope that answers your question.
Thanks, Fleet. MC1 Preston and Lene Burns have been monitoring the MyNavy HR Facebook page. Let's go back to the feedback desk and take a couple of questions from sailors as they're coming in. MC1 Preston, do you have a good question for us?
Hey, sir. So the big questions that a lot of people are asking are the State 21 program, when those results will be released. Also, chief results. People have been hearing a lot of rumors, wanting to know if there's anything official. And also, sailors would like you to go a little bit deeper into what the Navy's doing to help parents dealing with the child care issues going on during COVID.
Okay, I'll let you divide them up as you see fit.
Yeah. Hey, let me start first. Hey, can we go back though to Petty Officer Preston for a second? So, congratulations, Petty Officer Preston, who is a proud new parent and who has a spouse who's also in the military. So he's kind of living this right up close and personal with child care. MC1, 2 thumbs up. You have done a great job juggling, and we're happy for that beautiful new baby to be here. But let me just tell you, we know that right now as we work with Scenic with respect to child care, that for the Navy writ large and for all of the services, the child care capacity was not there prior to COVID. Not to the level that we wanted, and it differs amongst services. And unfortunately, or fortunately, the Navy, we are in places that people like to live, they like to work. Think San Diego, think Norfolk, Virginia Beach, which means also that there's a huge draw on child care providers, which means it's even harder for us to find the kind of folks and the quality of folks that we want to man those CDCs. So we're working hard to increase those numbers of seats. And as well, we're doing things like public-private ventures in Coronado. We're working with a local school that they were no longer using the school. So now we have rented the facility, and we will go ahead and bring the child care providers in to expand those numbers there. But it's not where we want it to be yet. We know that's a pain point. We're working it very, very aggressively. And then State 21, I think those results are going to be out by mid-December. Okay, a really, really important program. And Fleet, do you want to talk to the chiefs?
Yes, sir. Chiefs results will be out for triads this Wednesday, so November 18th. And I've pushed that out via email to the Navy-wide Chiefs Mess, and I believe we teased that up on our Facebook and MyNavy HR social media outlets yesterday afternoon. So congratulations to all the newest Chief Petty Officers, and look forward to seeing those results on Wednesday.
CNP Fleet, we are slowly running out of time. We've got about 5 minutes left. Any closing remarks that you'd like to make?
One thing we didn't talk about was PFA. And I know you're probably all tracking that, and I think you'll see us coming out formally here soon. But we're looking at, for the PFA, based upon feedback and risk to mission, risk to force, right? Risk to mission, we've gone a year without it. So we know that we really do need to go ahead and get that going again. The other services have done a few different things, but the majority have kind of started it back as well here this late fall. But we looked at restarting in January, doing 2 cycles. You're watching the rates of COVID go up, up, up. The vaccine's almost there. It will get better. But, January is still right in the middle of flu season. And so we are close to the formal approval to go ahead and get the word out that we'll do 1 cycle next year. It'll start toward the middle of March. So after flu season, when it's warm enough, as we look at doing it for about 6 months through September, so that you can get outside and do it, mitigate that risk. We won't be doing curl-ups anymore. Fleet and I will not get down and do our planks here. But are you going to do it?
No, we can do a plank off at the end to close the show.
All right, we'll do the plank off to close the show. I don't want to embarrass.
Well, we're not done yet, are we?
I don't want to embarrass my Fleet Master Chief. But because I'm up to about 15 minutes, I don't know if the show's going to go that long. we're gonna do planks, not curl-ups, so you won't be in someone's face. And so otherwise, you know, that then kind of keeps you pretty safe as we look at what we're going to do. So that's some news you can use that'll be coming. Let me just say thanks again for what you're doing. Thank you for your service, your sacrifice. We can never say thank you enough. We want your feedback. We aren't going to promise perfect. We're going to try and get policies and processes. We've changed a lot, and we'll make some mistakes. We'll try not to change things too quickly in areas where it could really, really hurt you. Think fit reps. Coaching we can learn from, and then we'll pile that in. We're taking that approach throughout. We're getting you good enough apps out there. Oh, by the way, if you haven't downloaded MyNavy Family app, please do it. You'll be a hit with your spouse and your family. But that's just a great example of things we're getting out there. We'll get you good enough, then we'll spiral it. So I'll ask you to be patient and flexible there. But this is all about doing a better job with how we support the fleet, how we support you and your family. So thanks for tuning in here. Fleet, final words?
Yes, sir. And, 2020, I don't know what else could get thrown at us this year that we would respond to. And so I continue to be really impressed with how our sailors have reacted. Having 100 ships, underway at any given time, keeping our supply chain open, keeping our schoolhouses open, keeping our commands running despite the child care challenges is taking a lot of effort. We've asked an awful lot of you this year, and unfortunately, we're not done yet. So please give us your feedback. Let us try to make things easier for you. We are listening. We're all in this thing together, and thank you for everything that you're doing out there to keep the Navy running. Hoo-yah, Navy.
All right,
Hoo-yah,
so
Navy.
As I wrap things up, if you gentlemen would like to take your plank positions, and I will tell all our shipmates out there, thank you for watching, and thank you for all the great questions. We hope you got something out of this live town hall. I definitely am getting something out of watching this right now. And hey, by the way,
you need to get your butt up just a little bit there, Fleet. Come on, man. Come on, give us the right
We'll be
pose.
reposting the entire program here on the MyNavy HR Facebook page. So tell your shipmates who may have missed out, watch, and don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Have a good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. We are out of here. Have a great day. All right, you're clear.